students, how are you? I hope all are good. Today let me start SST chapter number 15, land, soil and water resources. We have already read about the natural resources, है ना, हम पहले ही पढ़ चुके हैं प्राकृतिक स्रोतों के बारे में. In the previous chapter, land, soil and water are important natural elements. ठीक है, जो मिट्टी है, जो भूमि है, पानी है, ये क्या है, हमारे लिए बहुत ज़रूरी एलिमेंट है. These are affected by environmental conditions such as different elements of weather and climate, hydrological cycle, weathering of rock, etc. Land resource. Land is the most important natural resources as human beings live on it and obtain most of their needs from it. It is used by human beings for settlement, agriculture, transport and other activities. Even most of our clothing requirements come from land. About 95% of human food requirements are made from land. Land covers about 29% of the total surface area of the earth. Entire human population of more than 7 billion people today live on land. Out of that, 90% people live on 30% of the land area. So the remaining 10% also live on land, but in hostile terrain like deserts, mountains, grassland, and it in extremely cold areas. The areas are thinly populated. Land use. We use land for different purpose like cultivation, grazing, mining, setting up of industries, settlements and so on. है ना, लैंड का जो है, जो भूमि है, जो ज़मीन है, हम बहुत तरह से हम उसका उपयोग करते हैं. उस पर हम खेती करते हैं, बिल्डिंग्स बनाते हैं, घर बनाते हैं, है ना, इंडस्ट्रीज सेटल करते हैं. सच लैंड यूटिलाइजेशन इज कॉल्ड लैंड यूज. So the proportion of land put to a particular use and its distribution over an area or the world is known as land use pattern. For example, agriculture, housing and roads differences in land use also depend on environmental problems and cultural differences of the people. So physical features of the land also put certain limits to its use. Major land use patterns of the world are forest, arable land, pasture land, grassland, rough grazing, vastland, savanna, mining, fishing and industrial centers. Factors influencing and land use pattern. Population growth is the major factor that determines land use pattern as well as its change. For example, conversion of forest land into crop land, etc. Physical factors like topography, climate, availability of water, soil and its fertility. Occurrence of mineral deposits favor mining and also invite human settlement, transport, etc. Crop combination, फसल उगाने के लिए, and nature of soil determine land under agriculture. Technology plays an important role in determining land use for various settlements. For example, human settlements near the high seismic zones are usually avoided. Land use in selected countries of the world. From the given table, we can draw many important inferences. For example, India has a very high percentage of arable land, 57%. Australia and UK have more land under pasture. Japan has 67% of its total land area under forests. Canada, which has a good percentage of its land area under forests, has put its land area to other uses. The above land use pattern also depicts probable economic activities of the people. For example, agriculture is the dominant occupation of the people in India. Two European countries, France and UK, have a sizable portion of arable land. Agriculture occupations are still very important activity. Study the bar graph of land used by continents and the table of land used in selected countries and answer the following questions. What is the major land use of the world? Name the countries having the highest percentage of land under crops. Establish a link between land use and economic development. Common property resources. On the basis of its use, land can divide into private land, community lands and cooperative ownership. Traditionally, Adivasis in India and tribals in other parts of the world Consider land a community resources in Africa. Even today, many communities use pasture lands as a common resource for grazing their domesticated animal. They even collect fodder, fruit, medicinal herbs for community use. Community lands are considered as a common property resource. The concept has been extended to corporate lands. Under globalization, many corporate companies have established industrial parks as a common property resource. However, the ownership of the land continues to be privately owned by a member or shareholders of the company concerned. World pattern of land use. The world pattern of land use is shown on the map below. It may observe that both climate and relief factors determine land use pattern. In major parts of the world, people still practice nomadic herding and primitive agriculture, whereas in developed parts of the world, people practice commercial agriculture to get the maximum benefits from land. We should prepare a plan of land use. Land use planning. The conservation of land resources takes into account the needs of the community as well that of environment, including technological development. Therefore, for this purpose, some hindrances like regionalism and disturbances in occupational structure of the people need to be overcome. Soil resources. Soil is an important resource which sustains the living world. It is the top covering of the earth's surface. It comprises of mineral particles and decayed organic material which together help plant growth. So the organic contents in soil called humus. In the process of weathering, rocks break down and alternation of minerals take places on or near the surface of the earth. For weathering to take place, rock must in equilibrium and in contact with the atmosphere. Soil is formed in layers from parent look upward. This layering arrangement is called soil profile. The layers of soil are also called horizon. Generally, there are three horizons designated as A, B, and CC is the bedrock. B is the subsoil above it and A is the soil proper and contains humus. Soil formation. Soil formation is a slow and complex process. It takes thousands of years to form a very thin layers. Plants, animals, insects and countless bacteria. Besides providing materials for the formation of humus are also useful when they are alive. They set the soil and provide open spaces within soil to take in air, oxygen, nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Bacteria convert atmospheric nitrogen into usable forms. Temperature, precipitation and other chemical constituents of soil also help in soil formation. The soil is formed by mechanical, chemical and biological processes. Climate is the most important factor as it affects weathering of rock, nature of vegetation and the moisture in the soil. Parent rock or the original rock, its characteristics and qualities also responsible for the type and quality of soil. For example, shales make clay soil while sandstones contribute sand grains. Rate of soil formation mostly depends on frequent temperature changes and precipitation. Time factor is essential both for soil formation and its use. Relief, altitude, slope and natural agents of transportation and deposition like rivers and winds also affect soil formation. Depending on the origin of soil and their evolution, soils are classified into two main groups, residual and transported soil. For example, red and black soils in Deccan Plateau are residual soils, whereas the alluvial soils of Ganga Valley are transported soils. Humus. Flora, fauna and microorganisms in soil affect humus formation and give it a black or grey color. Soil as a renewable resources. Soil is a renewable resource. The process is however very complicated and slow. It takes anything from 400 to 1000 years for an inch of soil to form. Therefore, this renewability must be maintained in uninterrupted form. When soil is robbed of its basic properties, soil erosion occurs. Soil erosion is the degradation of soil properties by natural or human activities to ensure that soil resources of earth remain intact. So, the rate of erosion must not exceed the rate of soil formation. Factors responsible for soil degradation. The factors affecting the formation of soil are soil erosion. Soil erosion is the main factor responsible for soil degradation and even its destruction. Among the factors responsible for soil erosion are deforestation, faulty agricultural practices, chemical fertilizer and pesticides. Salination, accumulation of water on soil causes saltiness. Irrigation canals lead to salination, those resulting in soil degradation. Deforestation, deforestation leads to enormous loss of basic properties of soil. Overgrazing, over use of chemical fertilizer, pesticides, landslides and floods also degrades the soil. Conservation of land and soil resources. Conservation, it means protection, preservation and efficient utilization of resources. While it is true that nature has capacity to renew land and soil resources on its own, it is very slow process spread over thousands of years. Conservation is a human practice that has to be promoted rather than allowed to run on its own. So, some methods adopted for soil conservation are: check land degradation. Degradation of land, as explained earlier, is directly related to destruction of soil resources. Therefore, land degradation must be controlled. Mulching. Mulch means covering with straw or compost where grounds are covered with layers of organic matter, sometimes even with crude fibers or any other organic matter. So, this prevents torrential rainfall, animals and fast winds from causing damage to soil. It helps to retain soil moisture. In cold countries, mulching is used for germination of seeds. Contour plowing. It is the cultivation of land along the contours in color to check the flow of water which otherwise can wane away the soil. Terrace farming. Terrace farming is done in hilly areas. ठीक है ना, इस तरह से होती है terrace farming. On steep slopes. Steep like terraces with flat surfaces are made to enable the fields to hold soil and water. This reduces surface runoff as well as soil erosion. Agroforestry and other measures. Afforestation, plugging of gullies, controlling shifting agriculture and intercropping are other means of soil conservation. In intercropping, as in the case of wheat, different crops, particularly legumes like peas, are grown in alternate rows and sown at different times to help the soil retain its nutrients. Shelter beds. Trees are grown in rows and columns to prevent winds, running water and even grazing animals from causing damage or to the soil. They check the speeding water and wind movement. Shelter bed plantation had been put to good use in coastal areas and dry regions. From the basis of life, it is a renewable natural resource. The presence of water, disgonish or earth from other planets. The earth is known as a water planet because 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered with water. So in oceans, seas and lakes, the earth is about 4.6 billion years old. It is believed that for about a billion years in the beginning there was no water on the earth's surface. It was only when the earth's surface was covered with water that atmosphere formed. After the formation of all three domains of the earth, life was formed in primitive oceans about 3.5 billion years ago. In the earth history, the area under ocean has expanded and sunk several times depending on sea level. So the ocean water is saline or salty. It is not fit for domestic, agricultural and industrial purpose. Okay, so the lithosphere receives water from precipitation through the process of hydrological cycle. The ocean water cycles through atmosphere and land and back again. So the water that fall on the ground is fresh water and accounts for about 2.7% of all water resources on the earth. Nearly 70% of the fresh water is found in the form of frozen ice sheets over Antarctica and glaciers on high mountains. Sources of water. There are contrary views among scientists regarding sources of the earth's water. Astronomers consider combs formed of gaseous clouds which hit the primitive each frequently as the source of water on earth. Geologists on the earth hand consider volcanic eruption as the source of water on the earth. Ever since oceans and seas were formed, they maintained a certain kind of level with respect to land. This is known as sea level. Find out how present phase of global warming is impacting the sea level. Harnessed fresh water. Human beings, land animals and plants use only fresh water. Human beings use it not only for drinking and washing but also for irrigation and industries purpose, है ना, जो fresh water होता है. So they build canals, dams and generate electricity with the help of falling water. There is a great demand for water due to rising population. Latitudinal variations. It is interesting to note that world's most densely populated areas also receive sufficient rain for their needs. Between 20 degree and 40 degree latitudes in both hemispheres, evaporation exceeds precipitation. Therefore, these areas along with those of equatorial region have surplus precipitation. The areas where water is found in plenty include countries of Europe, South and Southeast Asia and the Eastern USA. So the dry areas include major part of Central and West Asia, Central Australia, North Africa and the Middle East. The arid region in Northern Hemisphere are Sahara, Arabian and Gobi Desert. In the Southern Hemisphere, Atacama, Namibia, Kalahari and West Australia are also examples of arid parts of the earth. Water quality. Water in its pure form is odorless and colorless liquid. Water its pure form is odorless and colorless liquid. It easily gets contaminated with hundreds of different types of water that affect its quality. It becomes saline but does not decompose easily. Therefore, these waste infuse disease causing pathogens in water and make it dangerous for human or even animal consumption. The common waterborne diseases are cholera, dysentery, typhoid and amoebic infections. Water pollution is a major pollution today. It is responsible for water scarcity. Besides, there are also problems of taking piped water to far-flung and scattered rural areas in India. Only 29% of homes rural areas get water. Even in urban areas, only 65% of homes get water. Worldwide, less than 20% people in developing countries have access to clean drinking water. There is water shortage in many regions of the world on account of pollution and regional variations. Many parts of Africa, West Asia, South Asia, West USA, Northwest Mexico, South America and entire Australia are facing water shortage. Conservation of water resources. Water can be conserved and its quality improved at less expenses than any other resources. Some of the important purification and quality improvement techniques are: removing impurities. Any odor or color in water is a sign of an impurity. Depending on the type of impurity, this can be removed by filtration, distillation, boiling treatment and recycling. Some of the common water contains are lead, salt, iron and hydrocarbons. Filtration. In this process, water is passed through a screen like cloth, sand, charcoal or even a specially made filtering device to remove suspended particles. Mostly insoluble and hard impurities can be removed in this process. Distillation. This process involves boiling of the water and condensing pure steam which they can be diffused. This method is very effective but expensive. Many pesticides which are not biodegradable can be removed in this way. Distillation is also used for desalination of pond or sea water. Distilled water is mostly used in hospital. Boiling. Boiling of drinking water supplied by pipes is recommended for every household. It is also the most common method as boiling kills parasites and bacteria. Treatment. Water can be disinfected through treatment. Chlorination is a common way of disinfecting drinking water. क्लोराइन इज ऑल्सो यूज इन स्विमिंग पूल्स, पोन्ड्स एंड वाटर टैंक, तो उसमें जो है क्लोराइन यूज होता है. एक्टिविटी. स्टेट्स ऑफ वाटर. Water on the earth is found in 3 states: solid, liquid and gaseous. While in liquid form, most of the earth's water is saline. In gaseous and salt forms, water is almost in its pure state. Now answer the questions below. Describe the 3 states of water, giving example. What happens to salinity during evaporation? Observe the picture and describe the process of making salt from ocean water. Recycling. Recycling is the established process of purifying wastewater discharged by industries. Though recycling generally refers to reuse of resources, the process also involves purification. Recharge of underground water. Today, rainwater harvesting and check dams are used to recharge and enhance the underground water table. It is the most effective method of meeting water needs and preventing water shortage in a monsoon country like India. Other methods. All the above mentioned 5 processes involve purification, but conservation is more than purification. It means protection, preservation and efficient utilization of water resources. Some of the important conservation techniques are improving vegetation, cover by planting trees, grass or even bushes to check surface water runoff, preventing pollution by taking adequate steps to prevent contamination of water, making legislation like banning pesticides in agriculture and using efficient means of irrigation like sprinkler irrigation. Land, soil and water are interrelated in terms of their resources value. There can be no soil without water, and rocks as these are essential components of land needed for soil formation. This interrelationship enhance the resources value. So all topics are covered in this chapter. I hope you all are very well understand this. So we will meet you the next class. Thank you.